Hello everyone, this is Robert, 50 Years of Chess. Talking to you from Bristol in England. The weather's pretty good. We've just had another heat wave yesterday and it's a little bit more cooler today. Perfect time for making a video. It's very difficult when it's hot to be able to sit here in this room and record. But it's not too bad. So here goes. I've got an opponent for you. The game was played on chess.com. It was I think it was a 10-minute rapid. It was against a player from Vietnam. And his name, if I can pronounce it properly, is something like Nguyen, Tien. It's similar to what it probably sounds like. He's around about 2021, something like that. He was born around 2001. And in this game, I'm playing white. And I'm going to show you how the game went. So I began with d4. He played d5, knight f3, e6, e3, knight f6, bishop d3, bishop d6. As you can see, he's more or less copying me move per move. So we've got exactly the same mirror image opening so far. Knight on b1 to d2, b3. Now I'm copying him. Bishop b7, bishop b2. So as you can see, we've got an exactly identical game. This is known as what's called the Collie system, and this is the Phoenix variation with bishop b2. Zucator, Collie, that's it. So he's castled, I castled. Now he's dropped the knight into e4. So he's the first one to make the move that starts the war. I've gone back with knight to e1. The reason is to play f3 and either make him exchange or kick him out, because the knight cannot be allowed to stay on that square. It's such a good square. So he supported it, and I played f3, and it's forced him to go back to f6. Now I played c3 to reinforce the center. Knight on 8 to d7. So we're about evens, I think. Knight c2, and now he's getting more aggressive with c4. So he's attacking me, and but I've got a solid, very solid setup. Queen e2, a5, a4. I can't let that pawn advance any further. It causes a lot of disruption. And also I've locked his queen side now in regards to the A and B pawns. He's played queen to c7. He's threatening bishop takes pawn on h2. So I played f4. This will allow his knight in again, but I will exchange it. So he comes in with the knight. I whip it off with my knight. And he's played f takes e4. So I play my bishop to the only place I can, which is bishop b5. Rook f6 is a good rook uplift that he can swing across onto the G and H file to attack me. So I could have problems here. Now, I played something I wish I didn't do, actually. I took his knight, and it wasn't necessary, because I didn't realise that he's going to have a tremendous bishop on a6, and that will be very, very strong. So he's retaken the knight with the queen. So having now seen that he can play bishop into a6, I played my knight to a3 to put into b5. So first of all, he's brought his queen across to e7. A bit of a mysterious move, but is it really? Because I think his plan is to move the rook across to h6 and then a queen to h4, threatening a good attack on h2. So I dropped the knight in, first of all, to b5. There you go, he's played rook h6, so this is looking a bit dangerous. So I played g3 to stop the queen to h4. And now he's gone back with the rook to g6. And probably looking now to push the h pawn to h4. And then that pawn on h3 becomes under a lot of pressure. So I did something again which I shouldn't have done, I don't think. Knight takes d6. I know that there is a threat that he could have pushed the pawn on, but not really. And now I've opened up that a6 f8 diagonal again. I'm going to regret that for sure. Queen takes knight. So what I've done is I've worked out something that might help me with queen to b5, so that if he does play bishop a6, I can then play pawn takes pawn and maybe swap the queens off and then move my rook. So he has played bishop to a6, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, not queen takes. So I'm going to lose the exchange, but I do get a pawn for that. You need two really for it to be even. Now he's trapped my queen. After bishop moves, even if I move the rook away, I'll lose my queen. So he's played that very well. So what I did was I played c4. I'm going to have to sacrifice a pawn here because my queen will be trapped otherwise, and I'm going to lose the exchange. So he's gone bishop takes c4, queen back to c3, which is not so bad because I am threatening. Queen takes g7 mate if he moves the rook. So he's doing well here. He's won the exchange as he took the rook with his bishop and I retook with my rook. He's played rook to b8. This is another good move. He's playing very well. He stopped me playing b4, though I'm not so sure that's what I want to do. But I've got a passed pawn, which is something good. Now I'm attacking his pawn on c5. Now he's played h5. He's looking to push that pawn on and cause a lot of trouble for me, but I'm taking that pawn anyway. That gives me two passed pawns. He could go queen back to b7 or rook to c8 to attack my bishop. But first of all, he's pushed his pawn on. So I've had to move my king up to give that pawn extra protection on g3. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Now he's double attack on my bishop. I have to protect it. So I brought my rook across. I think probably better maybe in b4, but then he's got queen takes a4. So I played rook c1. No, he's played rook h6. He can't do anything on that open file yet, but if he was to move his king to f7, he could double the rooks and would be in serious trouble. So I've gone back with the bishop to d4. Now this is interesting because I'm threatening bishop takes pawn on g7, attacking the rook. And I'm also threatening queen takes queen. So this has improved my position. Queen takes, rook takes, bishop takes. So he's got the exchange, but I've got two great passed pawns here. Now he's gone rook to h7. I think the plan is just to push the g pawn up, and then he can move his rook across to the queen side. So I push the pawn. Here we go. Yeah, he's played g6, bishop d4, where I can just control the pawns as they move up the board now from there. So he's played rook b7, and I've gone bishop into c5. This is perfect because now I can advance the other pawn and I can even get it down to 7th rank. King f7, a5, king e8, and now I'm bringing my rook across before I go pushing that pawn on. I'm perfectly okay here. So I've gone king f2, king d7, king e2. It's important I get my king to c3 and then into d4 and e5. Can't do anything about it. It's completely unable to prevent me getting there. King to c6, king to d2, king to b5, king to c3. My pawn on g3 is a bit weak, so I've got to watch for that. So he's gone back with the rook. He's either going to go behind the pawn if it pushes it. As he stands now, I can't push the a pawn because the king will take it. So he's okay there. But this has given me the opportunity to move into the centre and pick off these weak pawns. So king into d4, rook across now to h8. So I moved it up, and then I can move it on again, and this would be superb. He's played rook to g4, so I'm just pushing that pawn on there. Now this is great. I think I've won this game now, even though I'm exchanged now. My king is just fabulous. Now I can even protect that pawn if I move my king into the middle, because I've got the bishop on it. So he's got nothing he can win. All he can try and do now is to try and push his d pawn on, but that just go bishop takes pawn, but then he would take my b pawn, and then I'd have to push on the a pawn right to the 7th rank. That would occupy his rook and king, while I mop up the other pawns. So I've gone king to f6. There is a possibility here that he could sack the rook, and after bishop takes, he can push the d pawn on. But by then it's probably too late, because I could just queen with in 3 moves, so he wouldn't be able to do it. My a pawn would be home and dry. Even now it's good for me to push on the a pawn, really. But I'm just going to, which I did, but I'm going to also get the pawns. So I've gone to a6, and now this is serious for him. He's had to go back, so he's abandoned his idea that he had. And I've gone to a7, yeah. His king's far too far now. He should never have done this plan. It didn't work for him. Now he's going back to king. So I took that g pawn. King's going back. Coming in again. It's all too late now as he tries to go back to stop that pawn on a7. Going into c6. Pawn on. Don't need to take the e pawn. King to d6. Pawn on again. And once you get 2 pawns on 7th rank, this is where his problems lie, because he has to, which one am I, which one's what? If I move my king on, then I'm going to just push one and then push the other and get his rook. So he's gone rook to g8. Well, he's managed to blockade that pawn, but my next move completely wins the game, because he cannot move the rook. He can only swap it off for the pawn or the bishop. Obviously, if he took the bishop, I'd get a queen. So he would then have to come in close with his king, which is what he did, but it's too late, because I've got pawn a8 check, and that's the end. He resigned. So he did do better than me in the opening and, well, the middle game, but my game improved, and I was able to work out a winning plan in the endgame. It's often the case that players can be weaker and stronger in different parts of the game, and in this case I proved to be stronger in the endgame. After he'd won the exchange, I managed to maneuver my queen and bishop to be able to get 2 pass pawns connected, and that always gave me a really good chance against his rook. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this game, and I'll get more games to you as weather permits, as long as we don't get too many heat waves. Okay, thanks, and take care. Robert.